Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with ReThink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 120. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at ReThink Coaching. And as always, I just want to take a moment and thank you for your time. Time is our greatest asset. And the fact that you're willing to share your time, invest your time with me does not go unnoticed. And I really want to acknowledge you for that. And speaking of time, today I want to talk about that a little bit. I had a friend over the other day and we were working on a project together, actually. And I pulled up my calendar on my iPad. And they were like, "What is that?" And then I simply said, it's my calendar. And they asked, what the different colors were. And they were really amazed and somewhat shocked at how many appointments I had on my calendar and how little white space there was on the calendar. And they asked a question. You've got things scheduled for 5 minutes. You got things scheduled for 15 minutes. What's going on? And I just simply said, time is so important to me, especially this time of year, that I have to really own it at a very high level in order to achieve everything that I want to achieve. So I want to share that with you today and have us just really take a look at what that can look like for you. For me, time is not a resource. It's really an asset. And I want you to think about that. It's not just this resource out there that I can use like a pen or a pencil. It's really an asset. It's something that makes it important and different to me. If you're on my calendar, you're important. And the core idea about time being an asset is most people treat time like it's renewable, like a resource, but it's not. Time is not renewable. When it's done, it's done. When I'm done recording this podcast, that time is gone, done, and over with. So think about this. You can replace money. You can't replace time. You can treat time like an asset and start treating it with the same measurements that you do other activities. What's the ROI, return on investment, of the time I just spent? What am I getting back for the time that I'm investing? I don't think that we ask that a lot. We just treat it differently. But when you really think about every minute of every day, you have the opportunity to make a difference in your life, others' lives, your business, your income, everything. And when we own it at that high level and start measuring for return on investment of our time, we look at it differently. We truly do. You will look at it differently if you think about what's the return on investment I'm getting from this time. What I know is that high performers don't manage their time better. They just value it differently. And time spent without intention becomes time lost due to default behaviors. I love that. Time spent without intention becomes time lost to default behaviors. Not always proud to admit this, but there are times when if my schedule isn't full, I may find myself distracted a little bit and going to some default behaviors, doing some things that I don't have to do anymore, that I have other people doing for me, but I might default to it just because I haven't assigned what's important in that time slot. And I drift off to old habits. I drift off to doing things that really aren't moving the needle forward. So think about time as an asset. Hold it accountable to a return on investment. You're going to look at your time differently. It's critical that you do that one step. Number 2, you don't find time. You decide where it goes. I want you to really think about that. You just don't find the time, but you decide where it's going to go. Time doesn't disappear. It gets assigned consciously or unconsciously. So think about it. If you don't have a schedule and you're not following a calendar or you're not following activities for the day, it's not as if the time goes away. It's just now being used on an unconscious level. We're not making necessarily the best decisions about what we're going to do with our time. Our brain's just like, oh, let's go do this. And it starts filling in the blanks for you. So it's really important that you decide where time goes on a conscious level. And that's where owning a calendar or owning your time is really, really important. I hear people say often, and I'm guilty of this as well, of saying, I don't have time. When I think about when I used to say that more often, I really think about what that means is I didn't choose this, right? Or I'm not choosing this. I can't find the time to do that. Well, I'm making a choice. Can you find the time? Yes, if you know what your schedule is, if you're holding your time accountable to a return on investment. Distraction, overcommitment, and people pleasing will silently steal your time. I think as entrepreneurs, in fact, I know as entrepreneurs, because I'm one myself, that we can tend to overcommit. And this goes to a philosophy that I have about less over more, is that we like to overcommit and agree to doing more, do more, do more on an unconscious level, when honestly, that can create a serious challenge for you because it can steal your time and it can make you appear disorganized and scattered. Overcommitting really is challenging because what to me on an unconscious level, and then when I really think about it, means that I had something scheduled in this time slot, but something better came along. So I'm going to overcommit and say I can do that too. Or I'm going to say, I thought I only needed 45 minutes for that activity, but let's squish it down to 15 and then add this other thing. When I do that, I immediately stop myself and challenge myself and ask, was that original task that I had scheduled important? Because all of a sudden I'm treating something else as more important and I'm pushing it out of the way. So time doesn't disappear. We just assign it differently. When you don't have clarity about your time, it will get hijacked. And it gets hijacked by urgency versus importance. And I think that's really important. I've talked about this before. I have time blocked in my day to manage more administrative things or to have some time to handle the unexpected. I like to call it the uninvited dinner guest shows up. And how do I manage it? So I have a time built into my schedule to manage things like that. So when something comes up that I feel like it's really, really urgent for me to take care of, I'll stop myself and evaluate, is it urgent? Like, is it life threatening? And if it's not, I just know that, hey, it's, 9:00 in the morning. I got some time at 1:00 to deal with the uninvited dinner guest for the day. And I'm going to handle it then and get out of a state of urgency and really treat it more important. So making sure we don't dismiss our calendar to handle something urgent, because if you do, it's really doing something that is not important to you. That's the truth of it. This is when, when we don't assign or manage our time, this is where goal drift can happen because we like to be busy or feel busy, but we're not really progressing. So owning our time and knowing exactly deciding where it goes can help prevent goal drift. Because if I know exactly what I'm doing and the impact of that activity on my overall results, I am less likely to drift from my goal. And that is really important. So I love this question, right? If I followed you around for a week, what would I know matters most to you by watching how you spend your time? It's funny how we do things on an unconscious level, or we don't acknowledge the time wasters or the distractions or the goal drift or the places that we've overcommitted because we're just in this habitual space. So I would invite you to think if you had, instead of elf on a shelf, coach on your shoulder, following you around and watching you, what would I actually witness? What would I know matters to you most by watching where you're spending your time? So if you're somebody who gets sucked into TikTok or Facebook or Instagram for an hour, hour and a half a day, that to me tells me that's important to you. And you're deciding where that time goes in your life. Now, if it's happening on an unconscious level or it's just happening, chances are you're not following a calendar. Because if you were following a calendar, I don't see very often in a successful leadership, successful business owner, entrepreneur, executive member, where they've built in an hour and a half to just explore TikTok just for entertainment. That's typically not on someone's schedule. Number three, think about this. Efficiency isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right more. This is really important. Being busy is not the same thing as being effective. So owning that time to do the right activities is really critical. Doing the right more is important. I think we like to feel important and do busy work at times to feel like we've accomplished things. And I will admit there are times when I just need to get something done that's not dependent upon somebody else. So lead gen is dependent upon somebody else answering, somebody else talking, somebody else saying yes or no. It's dependent. Every once in a while, I just need to check a couple tasks off my list that only I can do. I'm not dependent upon somebody else, and it feels good. I just would encourage you to be intentional about how you assign that time so you don't find yourself doing that out of frustration and you need the distraction so you ignore what's on your calendar. Being efficient, right? Doing the right more, it's not about speed. It's about alignment. Are these activities moving me forward? Are these the right activities that have proven to get me results and I enjoy doing? Efficiency is really important. It's not about doing more for the sake of doing more. A lot of people will optimize tasks that really shouldn't exist in the first place. Leverage comes from elimination before optimization and fewer priorities and executed consistently. So I want you to think about that. Many people don't optimize tasks that should exist in the first place. So we don't optimize the critical activities that are actually important to the success of our business, our life, our health, our relationships, our wealth. We don't. We get a little distracted because we're busy doing a lot of stuff. And if you are somebody who looks at your calendar and thinks, I really can't put one more thing on here, and in fact, I've got to reduce the amount of time that I'm spending on the critical activities, then I'm going to invite you to think about leverage to create the space for the right more. What am I doing that I don't need to be doing? So elimination of things before you try to optimize. So an example, if my calendar has, an hour and a half a day to do lead generation, which is not uncommon for me to have time to do marketing and lead generation and then some time for lead follow-up. And my schedule's really full and I think, okay, I've got to optimize the lead generation. So I'll do it quicker. I'm going to do whatever. And I'm going to shrink that time to an hour and a half. And I start looking at how I can maximize everything on my calendar. In my opinion, when you do that, you're treating every activity with the same level of importance, and that is not true. So I would invite you to see what could I eliminate that's on my daily schedule that I really don't need to be doing anymore. What can I eliminate? Because I'd rather create the space and not shrink the time frame down for the important activities by just getting rid of the ones that I don't need to do anymore or that I shouldn't be doing. And that will create efficiency for you. That will help you on your journey to being more efficient in the time that you do have for the activities that matter the most. Really be intentional about the priorities that you set for yourself. For me, my non-negotiables are in my calendar in green. They're set in stone. Rarely will I move them. Yet if I do, I reschedule it immediately. So I know to be very intentional and stay in alignment about what I'm doing. I don't have a lot of space in my calendar for fluff. And for me, that works. It allows me to be successful in a lot of areas of my life and in the different businesses that I participate in. Sometimes you just have to ask yourself, right? If you're finding yourself really busy and you just really can't carve out any more time, and we've looked to see what can I eliminate. If you just ask yourself, does this particular activity move the needle forward? Is this helping me move toward goal? Is this pushing me forward? If it's not, it might be something that you can eliminate. Am I the only one who should be doing this? We do a lot of things out of habit. And I know for some of us, we have this philosophy, I could just do it quicker than if I had to take the time to explain it to my assistant or to my ops manager or to this person. And the reality is we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing that are interfering with the critical activities that we could be doing. So there's a difference. So think about, can I leverage any of these off? We talked about that. And then what happens if this activity doesn't get done? And if nothing is the answer or it has minimal impact, I would really look at that activity and ask why you're doing it. I mean, if this doesn't get done, does it matter? And if the answer is no, why am I doing it? Honestly, take a look at that and decide what you're going to do. The number 4 thing is your relationship with time reflects your relationship with yourself. I'm going to say that again because this is really important. Your relationship with time reflects the relationship you have with yourself. How you treat your time is often how you treat your own boundaries, energy, and self-respect. This one hit hard when I first was learning of the relationship that I had with time and how it was impacting my relationship with myself. And that one thing was so true. When I didn't respect time, I also wasn't respecting my boundaries. I wasn't maximizing my energy. And it was a sign of disrespect to me. So I live a pretty regimented schedule, clearly. I've said that a couple times. And there have been times lately that I have moved or given up my morning workout. That's a non-negotiable for me, but I found myself doing it. And it was really because I'd lost my way with managing my time. And I allowed my brain to talk me into, you got this huge project going on. And, I'm an early riser, so I've been working on it since 5:00. Do I really want to stop at 6:30 to head to the yoga studio, or do I just want to keep going? And I made the decision to keep going. And so I disrespected one of my own boundaries. Well, that has an impact on my health and how I show up for my clients, my team, my businesses. So really paying attention to that relationship with time is a really good barometer, thermometer, measuring stick, reflection, whatever you want to call it, with the relationship you have with yourself. Many times we will do this, right? So we sacrifice our relationship with time and therefore sacrifice our relationship with ourselves. We do this because we have this fear of disappointing others. We might say, they asked me to do this and they wouldn't have asked me if this wasn't really important. I don't want them to feel like I'm choosing this over them. So I'm going to disrespect myself first and allow that to become a priority. That can be a challenge. That's a bad relationship with your time. Needing to be needed. Oh, sometimes it feels so good for somebody to need us, and we need that boost of that hormone to be released to feel important and needed, and that we can really help somebody. Yet you're changing the relationship you have with your time if that isn't already built into your schedule. Confusing availability with value. This is really, again, something to consider. Just because I'm available doesn't mean I'm bringing value. It doesn't. In fact, what I have found to be true and what I coach a lot of my clients to, if I've got my personal trainer at 3:00 in the afternoon and a client needs to meet me at 3:00 in the afternoon, I don't say to them, I typically will not change my schedule because that doesn't necessarily add value. What I found, though, actually creates more value is if I just simply say, I already have an appointment with someone at that time. I can meet you this time or this time. And the funny thing about doing that is, number one, I do have an appointment with somebody, me, and I'm holding that true. Number two, people want what they can't have more than if you just said, oh yeah, I'm available. And they view you as busy. They view you as organized. They view you as following a schedule. And they will actually be more flexible in arranging their schedule to meet with you. So do not allow the confusion of availability to be of value. And know a lot of salespeople, entrepreneurs, when they first start, they want to be available for anything and anything at any given time. They'll sacrifice dinner with family, date night, church, whatever it is, because they feel like if they're available, they're showing value to their client. And you're truly not. And you're impacting your relationship with yourself. If you say yes too quickly, sometimes you're saying no to yourself later. Again, if you know your schedule, it makes it easy to say yes or no. Time boundaries aren't selfish. They're strategic. For me, working out is equally as important as lead generation because I'm not a machine that runs through a computer program. I'm a human being. I got to take care of me. So having the boundaries around time isn't being selfish. It's being really strategic. Protecting your time isn't about being unavailable. It's about being fully present where it matters. I'm going to say that again. Protecting your time isn't about being unavailable. It's about being fully present where it matters. The things that go into my calendar are important, period, or they wouldn't make my calendar, because I simply go back to that question. If it didn't get done when it mattered, and if the answer is no, it comes off my calendar. I don't need to do it. So protecting time isn't about being unavailable. For me, it's about being fully present where it matters, because if it's on my schedule, it matters. It's doing something to move me, my business, my relationships, my life, my wealth forward. And that's important to me. Number 5, respecting others' time is a leadership skill. If you know me, if I am late, something has gone terribly wrong, because I value other people's time as much as I value mine. I respect someone else's time as much as I respect mine. Being late, unprepared, or unfocused really sends a message to the receiver, whether it's intentional or not. For me, when somebody shows up late for a meeting, I really think, do they not see value in what we're doing? Do they not really want to be here? Is this not working anymore? I believe it's a choice, conscious or unconscious, on how you show up on time or not. If you're late, to me, it sends a couple of signals. I don't respect your time, and this meeting isn't that important to me. Those are signals to me if somebody is late. And I certainly don't want to be that person. So respect shows up as having a clear agenda when you do show up, being prepared, know what outcome you want to receive. And for me, if I can end a meeting early and we've achieved everything we need to achieve, what a gift of time to give that back to somebody. If I finish a meeting 10 minutes early, but we got everything done, our outcome, our goal, we have a path, we know what we're doing next, and we've got 10 extra minutes at the end, what a gift. And I'll even say that, hey, we did great. Let's take back the gift of time and get ourselves 10 minutes to go do whatever we need to do. And you end the meeting. Don't stretch it out just to have it fulfill the time that you've blocked, as long as you've got it done. When you respect somebody's time, you actually increase your credibility instantly. I think we've all been there where people show up unprepared. And it's like, what we're going to talk about again today? That's the sign. And to me, that makes them less credible. Who doesn't know why they're showing up for a meeting? Why are you here if you don't know what you're doing? So pay attention when you're respecting others' times and how you're showing up. The other thing is structure, calendar, time blocking, whatever you want to call, actually creates freedom. When I first was in the real estate lane, when I first became an entrepreneur, I left corporate America where my time was owned minute by minute. I've shared this before. I kind of tossed my day timer, my planner, my calendar in the back seat, and I thought, I'm not living by that again. And my life became chaos, slowly and gradually. Then I owned my time back and started scheduling time and time blocking in on my time and all the stuff that we talked about. And what I found was at the end of the day, I actually had more time for myself. I wasn't sitting in front of the TV with my laptop doing stuff. I wasn't distracted. I was actually able to focus on my family, my friends, the activities I wanted to do, because I was following a calendar and got all the things done that I needed to get done. And at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever my end time was, when I was done, I was done. I wasn't sitting at home going, oh my God, I forgot to do that. Let me go back and do that thing because I didn't have it on my calendar. Or I forgot to schedule this. Let me go make that happen. And I'm doing it at 9 o'clock at night. Actually following a schedule and honoring your time, the time blocks, will create more freedom than you're experiencing by not following one. It really allows you to do deep work. It allows you to have some creative thinking time. It allows you recovery and reflection time. Structure really fuels everything, and everything feels important, not urgent. So without structure, everything feels urgent and reactive. Make sure that you're time blocking, especially your non-negotiables. Number 7, time well spent is a life well lived. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, time is through the lens which we experience life. And this is where people often say, don't have balance. I immediately ask them to show me their calendar. And we go through it and we start asking a lot of the questions I've talked about today. How important is this? If this doesn't get done, will it make a difference? You tell me everything you're doing on here that somebody else could do. And we really start massaging that time spent, and we end up helping them create a life well lived. Time is a reflection of how well you're going to live your life. Regret is rarely about what we did. Most of the time, it's about what we didn't do or what we didn't make a priority and it didn't get done. Success without time and freedom is not success. It's a trade-off. And the goal isn't to fill time, it's to fulfill it. There's a difference. If nothing changed except how you spent your time, how different would your life look 1 year from today? I really want you to think about that. We're approaching the end of a year and the start of a new year. And one of the activities that I really encourage the clients that I have the privilege of being in a partnership with is let's really look at the time and how you're spending it. And let's treat it that if time well spent can impact our life, then let's make that happen and have that be one of our strategies. So think about that. If nothing else changed except for how you use your time this upcoming year, and you did it for a year that you owned your time at a really high level and you respected it and treated it as an asset, not a resource, how different would your world look? Would you have more sales? Would you have more balance? Would you have more joy? Would you have more peace? I'm going to answer the question for you and say yes. Yes to all of that. If you treat it differently. So time truly is our greatest asset. And it's only our greatest asset if we treat it that way. So you might want to do a calendar audit right now. You might want to protect your priorities, and you may want to start leading with intention. Those things are so important to me. I read a study, and successful leaders, successful people, before they do their business plan for the next year, they look at what they can eliminate and what they can optimize. And then they do their business plan. They are very intentional about eliminating the time suck that doesn't contribute to your success and only doing things that are of value to your business, life, health, and relationship. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I really do want you to think about time differently as we approach a new year and do everything you can to create the space to live a great life and to enjoy the balance. And I will talk to you all in a week. Take care. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.